Yeah.
Okay, I'd like to call the meeting to order, if I could, please. And Glenn, will you lead us in the pledge, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. For those of you that don't know, Michelle Hamilton, who was our recording secretary, is no longer with us. She got a full-time job and decided that part-time work was less lucrative, which I guess I can't blame her. And so today we welcome Melissa Siemens as our new recording secretary. So welcome, and we're happy that you were able to accommodate us. Are there any public comments? Yes?
I just have a thank you to the Sheriff's Department, to Deputy Steve Rowe and the dog. They came to my class last week and did a wonderful demonstration. The dog is young and new and needed the training, so I asked him if he'd like to come and do some searches at the high school, and they did a great job, and I really appreciate them taking the time to do that. So I just want to thank them publicly. And the dog is a good dog. We found all the drugs.
Well, now wait a second.
Not on my students. No, all the drugs that were hidden by the Sheriff's Department.
Oh, okay.
Ones that could be buried.
Let me clarify.
Let me clarify this.
Exactly.
Yes. Well, that's wonderful, and I'm glad that our sniffer dog is sniffing things out.
well.
Yeah, that is great. Okay, since there are no public comments, I'd like to turn to the second quarter expenses and revenue. I know that Kathy emailed all of you the expenses and revenue, and hopefully you had an opportunity to at least look at them and identify any of the problems that you might have. The only major concern that I had was that our revenues are okay, but not doing as well as perhaps they should. And Anne has provided us with a piece of paper here, and dealing with the Register of Deeds. And I think we all know that we depend very heavily for our revenue on the Registry of Deeds, because it is about, other than the nursing home, it is about the largest one. So Anne, would you like to make some comments about the revenue from the deeds?
The figure for the total income on your sheet, on your income sheet, the revenue that was projected was for 840, but 31,000 of that was for the equipment surcharge. So basically, it would have been 804,000 or thereabouts going to the general fund. If I was taking that figure and dividing it in two, I had hoped my income for this by the second quarter would be at 400,000, and it is definitely not. It is at 298,411. You'd have to look at the second sheet, the top sheet that I gave you over on the right. So the two figures at the very bottom of the right-hand column, the 298,411. 73 is the figure of what we have given to the general fund as of June 30th. The 11,086 is for the equipment, the surcharge. So you can see that I'm 100,000 or thereabouts off the mark. I don't know, we've had a fairly decent July, but the second sheet that I gave you is showing you revenues from the time I took office in 2007. And you can look across and you can see that, I think when I did it, I started on my original one, that in for the 6 months that we've done so far, this is the lowest figure in those 8 years.
So, I guess that means each one of us needs to go out and buy a house tomorrow?
Well, I'm finding, the revenue tax, I talked, Department of Revenue Administration was at our April 15th meeting of the registers, and I asked them if their income was down, and they said no. It is truly in the recording, which may be the mortgage amounts and so forth that we get for recording, which have gone down because the interest rate has gone back up, and everybody who is going to refinance maybe has done that. But I have no way of predicting what the future holds, and I can't have a weight sale. So we just do the best we can. We are down in many respects on the income as far as recording, down even on copy amounts. So I'm hoping this is going to turn around with everybody coming up and enjoying their summers up here with us and deciding to buy a house. We depend so much on second homes. Frankly, there isn't a lot of jobs, so we don't find people moving here because the employment is good. We find it because people have come here and decided to retire here or get a second home here. And we could do some things without bringing some industry or something into the area, which would help.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So we just need to, all of us, keep that in mind. And like I said, go out and buy a house.
Or just have your property surveyed.
Okay, well, whatever, do something. Do something. The county needs the money. Okay. Are there any questions for Ann? Yes, Representative Tysers.
Not for Ann, but just want to clarify and understand, put it in context. So the revenues for that department are down, but the total general fund revenues are at 49% out of half of the year. So that's not too far off, is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct. But I'm not sure that that's accurate. But anyhow,
And then I have a follow-up.
yes?
Why would it not be accurate?
Only because I'm sure it is, okay? But the area that is making up for that is the miscellaneous county income. If you'll notice, that was projected at 4,000, and we've taken in, I'm sorry, yeah. So there's that one. We also have special details, which is up, but that really doesn't create a lot of income for the county, because the people that do the special details get the money for that. And you can read those as well as I can, so.
May I ask a question?
Sure.
So the county miscellaneous income, could we have a little bit of an explanation about that?
Sure. Go ahead, Kath.
We received from the state, from the DEAS money, a special estate recoveries from 2000 to 2013, when perhaps they went and reevaluated what went on in those years. They gave us a credit back of $64,250.03.
And
Thank you.
That's not ever expected.
was that to the general fund as opposed to the nursing home?
Right, because it's what we pay the 100 fund.
Okay. All right, thank you. So that's a one-time deal.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a surprise.
Yeah. Representative Conkey?
Thank you, Madam Chairman.
I'm sorry, were you finished?
Yes.
No, did you have other questions?
I can wait.
No, go ahead, finish.
So, I don't think I'm quite prepared at the moment because I'm still on the last one, but the extra income for the details, that's balanced out by extra expenses is what you're telling us?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Representative McConkey?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. For Ann, if I could, the registrar.
Mm-hmm.
Your income in the second half, is that traditionally equal to, I know you cut your projection in half, and do you tend to see more sales at the end of the year?
The second sheet is kind of to show you what happened in other years.
Yeah.
And if I go across on that, I mean, like I said, if I'm seeing 4 of my 6 months, I think we're almost the lowest figure going across this way, so.
So you don't see a surge typically in the last couple months with reporting?
October used to be a pretty heavy month, but you know, it used to be that by the time you saw a house, put a down payment down, and the process used to be a lot longer for getting approved for a property. Jackson is a lot longer. How long the time has now got
Pretty
closer?
quick.
It is much quicker. So maybe what we usually see is a bigger month in October. Maybe we're going to see it earlier. And maybe something will happen as far as interest rates.
Thank you.
And a lot of people are not being qualified now that used to be qualified for getting new loans. So we're also seeing that.
Are there any other questions on revenue? I do have one on the jail. And that we're significantly below projections. And somebody have an explanation for that?
The telephone income, we have some lights over there that are coming over. We switched to a new company too, which will be a flat rate per month, so that should start kicking in next month. The work release income, we haven't as many people out as we would like, including electronic monitoring. We hope to get out 6 on average, and we're averaging 4. We're hoping to get out a few more people, but just the people that qualify, it just depends on each year. At the beginning of the year, we hope to get 6 out on average. We're averaging between 4 and maybe 5, so that's why it's down a little bit.
It's down a lot. So, so you're telling us that you don't see that gaining in the next 6 months?
I see your telephone revenue, yes, will go up. That'll definitely go up. And the other ones probably stay steady where they are. We have a lot more pre-trial people than we do sentence, so it makes it very difficult because I'm out at home electronic monitoring.
Representative Schmidt?
Thank you, Madam Chair. If I can just direct this question to you, Superintendent. When we finished the jail budget the last time, you had a meeting with a federal marshal. I was told we were 3 to 4 weeks away from taking in federal prisoners, which would really inflate, or hopefully inflate, that revenue line, and we had extensive talks about that. Apparently, that's not materialized. Can you comment on it?
It has not yet. The paperwork is actually quite extensive and quite lengthy, and with the superintendent resigning when he did, and I've been taking over the past 3 months, it is not finished, and that's where I'm at right now. I'm interim working both positions, so right now I do not have time to focus on that. When things get organized, that'll be my priority to get it done. It is extensive, it is lengthy. The federal government has got a lot of paperwork.
All I can say, that's very disappointing to me. At the time, it was certainly represented that it certainly wasn't that extensive to accomplish. I was just reading in one of the local papers about how extensive Belknap County is in taking in federal prisoners. with a resultant revenue increase, and it seems to me that that's something that really ought to be a priority here, considering how underutilized the jail is. I can't tell you how to run your position, but it seems to me that that's one avenue, particularly in line with the decline in revenues, that I think I would recommend to you that you maybe reconsider your priorities. That's about all I have.
Thank you. Okay, any other comments on revenue? Okay, looking at expenditures. Yes?
Long as I'm on a roll, let's get back to jail again.
Okay. Which page is that on? Page 8.
Yeah. Superintendent, if I could call your attention to line 005, that's the overtime line. Through the end of June, we've almost blown through the entire overtime budget. Would you care to comment on that, particularly in light of what I thought was a pretty good effort made at retention? But can you tell me what's going on here?
Retention is still, we've lost 11, if not 12 this year. At this point, so retention is still having difficulty with retention. We also have some medical issues that came up with our offenders, which cost a lot of money to around the clock, cost overtime. Our overtime with our learning system did go down because we're not trying to do training in-house, but between days off, sick, FMLA, military, and covering hospital duties and stuff, that's where your money goes for overtime. And on average, if you look at the past years, overtime was about $40,000 every year in overtime.
Well, it looks like, if I may, Madam Chair, it looks like we're on track here to push close to 60,000 in overtime if the trend continues. Let me also ask you a question, and I get back into the education and conference line. I see through June we've spent almost all of that. It seems to me that if overtime is out of control, then maybe we ought to take a look at the away conference time. But again, that's your decision as a manager of the jail. I can tell you as someone who was instrumental anyway in approving the jail budget, that doesn't seem correct to me. It just seems to me that that's one avenue, that if you're faced with the issue of absenteeism, as you're talking about, that's a line that probably should have been adjusted. In other words, when things are really going good in terms of personnel, I'm all for training. But if it's going to cost the county double the amount of money, not so much. But that's just me. I guess I don't have any more questions.
Representative McConkey?
Thank you. While we have the superintendent.
Sure.
Maintenance building repairs, do I see that at 109%?
Correct.
And we still have a lot to go. Are you safe in that, that you're only 9% over? Do you see major issue with that going
Well,
forward?
hoping that with the maintenance underneath it for equipment repairs, we're going to be able to fix some of the things that we have. I'm not sure, the HVAC system, one of the things that went down this year, unforeseen expense was quite expensive, and a few other things that failed this year that were unforeseen expenses as well. I hope that we don't see much more of that, and I can take it out of the equipment line to try to fix things.
Okay.
Just as a comment, I would certainly hope that between the commissioners and HR and yourself, that you could sit down and try to come to grips with why the turnover rate is so high. and that it is, to me, I think our salaries are maybe a little bit lower, but pretty commensurate with the other places. Well,
There's more than a salary issue.
well, so that, maybe that's part of it, but I don't think salary is all of it. And so, and of course, when you start working people overtime, they get tired, and so they want to leave. And so we are having, it's kind of one of those circle things that we're just going right to the bottom. So I would hope that we can hear something back in our next review as to what kinds of things that you think could be put in place to help with the turnover rate, and whatever it is, and I agree with Representative McConkey that it's not just all salary, and so yes, Representative Sons.
If I could, Madam Chairman, at the jail, we've had a lot of correctional officers on family medical leave in the past. I'm not sure where that is right now. Do you have any idea what it is now? Are people out? Not much? Okay.
Representative Crawford?
Just a question, I'm sure it was asked before at some point in time. Do we do exit interviews?
Try to.
Well, I mean, if the turnover is as bad as you say it is, we should be doing exit interviews, because, that certainly, someone who's leaving is not going to care one way or another. He's going to say really what's on his mind,
Mhm.
or her mind, on why she's leaving the job to go to some other venue. So I would think it would be wise for us to do exit interviews all the time on any job position that we have.
The HR director has put significant emphasis on exit interviews, but I'm not sure that we've had the follow-up analysis that might go with that. And I don't know, but that's one of the things that I think is crucial. That you do the interviews, but if you don't do anything with the data, and I understand that HR has been working very hard to try to get things in order, and so it's a question of priorities. But it would appear to me that this kind of rapid turnover, and this has been 6 months, and he said he's lost 11 people in 6 months. That to me is a crisis, and not just,
Absolutely.
Representative Tysers.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm wondering, I know we've had this discussion before, so I'm wondering if we have a significant increase in the turnover rate, or if this is just ongoing, and if it has been significant, when did it change? Did we get that information?
As far as I know, it's been ongoing. Last year, you lost 17 out of 32. This year, up to 11. And I know people want to hear it. A big part of it is money. We are the lowest paid county in the state. That's all. We did our best this year to do awards, banquets, and everything else, try to keep staff to like their schedule. But and we'll go with more of that when budget season comes along. But it's been a high turnover rate here for quite a while.
And I guess the question that I would ask is, of those people that have left, how many have actually gone to work for another county in the jail? And I think that that's something that the exit interview process could identify. And, I don't know how far it is to drive to one of the other jails, but I know Coeau is pretty far. Belknap, you have to go through Meredith and down someplace or other. So anyhow, we'll let the commissioners and HR and the superintendent work that out. So, yes, did you have a
Thank
question?
you, yes, thank you, Madam Chairman. Just wondering what the cost to train a new person coming on board, rough idea?
What the cost is?
Yes.
Cost if they go to the academy and everything,
Right.
about 8,000.
About what?
8,000, roughly.
Since you brought that up, most departments have a contract. If they send a police officer to the academy, they have a contract that the police officer has to stay with that department for 3 years, or whatever their contract might be. If they don't stay with the department, then they pay it back.
Pay it back.
So do we have some sort of
No, we
contract like
checked with
that?
all the other counties, none of them have except for one, and one county we did talk to, I talked to a lawyer, said it's not enforceable. So there is no county corrections that have that kind of in their contract, none.
Police.
I can tell you it's been enforceable in Marlboro.
Just clarification. And how many of your new officers are required to be trained through the academy?
Eventually, all of them go through, at some point, we'd like them all to go through.
And how is that eventually determined in terms of time frame?
Depends on how many academies are held each year. Usually academies, sometimes 3 years, sometimes 4 years. It depends on how often Hampshire Association of Counties has an academy, and if we can get somebody through the academy.
Thank you.
This is, excuse me, this is the academy down in Concord?
It's not the police standards and training academy, but we have a corrections academy. Sometimes it is held police standards training. It's been held over in Stratford. So different spots.
Okay, so it's a different academy.
It's a different one.
Correct.
Okay, and who runs that at the state?
It's the county.
New Hampshire Association of Counties.
Oh, so the state does not have a corrections program?
They have a state corrections academy for the state correctional officers. This is county corrections, so county corrections.
Okay.
academy.
And so the training is different, significantly different, that you couldn't go to the state academy?
Well, state academies, twice the amount of time, twice the amount of length, it would cost you twice the amount of money to go. And
Well, I'm not sure that it would cost any money is my concern.
it would if we pay their salary where they're going, so it would cost you twice the amount while they're going.
Well, yeah, I mean, but it doesn't matter where they go, you still pay their salary.
And they fall under the state guidelines, where we fall under the county corrections guidelines, so it is separated. I mean, some of your laws are the same, but they are separate.
Okay, thank you.
I have one more comment.
Yep.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I just want to make the delegation aware of what we had been talking about and the consequences to some actions that were taken or not taken, and what that meant. The jail subcommittee spent an awful lot of time with the superintendent and the assistant superintendent. And let me get back to the prisoner issue again on the underutilization of the jail. We talked extensively about the root causes of turnover, and one of those, I think we would all acknowledge, root causes would be we are the lowest county in New Hampshire in terms of compensation for the jail. My suggestion to the superintendent then, because budgets are always tight, that if they could increase the revenue line, my presumption was that this delegation would be more prone to consider an increase based on the increased revenue. One action will affect the other action. Everyone at the time thought that was just a wonderfully marvelous, bright idea. But here we are, and frankly, again, I'm disappointed again. We're blowing the overtime line. The retention rate is crazy. We don't have the means to fix it, and we have no increase in prisoners. So again, I say to you, Superintendent and the Commissioners, I think you need to reprioritize some of the issues you're dealing with and get to work on that revenue line. I understand the opportunities are there. It's a shame not to take advantage of them. That just might result in our ability to increase that salary line. Thank you.
Okay. Representative McConkey.
Thank you. Just wanted to follow up Representative Crawford's comment that the paying back of training time may not be the standard in the county, but I know, as she does, that it's a standard held by many police departments, and it's fire departments, and it's the same sort of policy that nursing homes, I think in private sectors, when they pay for the training of LNAs and others that are looking for that requirement. But I believe the county has ignored that as a possibility for many years. And I just want to comment on representatives that I believe it's a practice that can be done and perhaps should be looked at.
Okay, is there any other questions? I feel bad that we're raking our new jailer
Okay.
over the coals here. We need to. I think he understands where we're coming from. I think the commissioners understand where we're coming from. And I think HR understands where we're coming from. And that we will anticipate hearing more about that over the coming months. So that is Representative Cordell.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We're on to other lines at this point, I take it.
Please.
I was looking at legal fees under special fees and services, page 2 on my sheet. And we're 176% over the allocation for that line item. And I would think that would be something where we could control that a little bit more easily than other line items in the budget. And so I would appreciate hearing and maybe hearing from the commissioners as to why that is the case, and maybe getting detail on where these legal fees have been expended and how.
I think you're, okay, on legal, oh yeah, okay. I will just make a comment that
Page 2, I guess.
there have been several ongoing court cases through this first 6 months. And the commissioners have identified this as a problem area. And I requested that they look within their budget to see where they might be able to make some changes so that it would cover the additional legal expenses, because I expect that the cases that are out there will continue for a while. And so it's up to them to figure out how they're going to manage the payment of that within their budget line. And although I think we also have some things that are going to result in court cases that haven't gotten that far at this point. And so that's what the problem is. And again, you know, this is an area I think that we have seen, what do I want to say? We used to have a lot of problems with employees with court cases. And I think that part has settled down some. And we're looking at other areas now that are causing the problem. So I don't think we need to get into the individual court cases. I think we just need to make sure that the commissioners understand that it's within their purview to come back to us with some changes as to how they're going to fund it.
if I could follow up. There was one I specifically wanted to ask about in that there was a court case related to a 91A case, and I think the delegation authorized the payment of $2,100 to cover the commissioner's defense, and that it be split between the 3 commissioners. And I would just like to get an update as to the status of that, and that we are not exceeding that was authorized by the delegation.
That you may ask.
Go ahead.
Representative Commissioner Babson.
We've well exceeded it, Representative Cordelli, and it's come out of our own pocket.
Okay.
That's not a way to run a government.
Okay. Are there other issues within the expenditures? I know that the individual items that have gone up. Yes, Representative Tyson.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and I apologize for going back, but I was trying to get this in earlier. So back to the jail, I thought that there were 2 points that needed to be brought up. One, if I remember correctly, we can't just swap county prisoners or county prisoner slots for federal prisoner slots. There are a lot of different regulations and requirements and things like that. So while I don't disagree with anything at all that Representative Schmidt said, I just want people to understand that it's not quite as easy as it might sound. And the other point, just for context, is that although some of the line items for the jail are well above what we anticipated for expenses, we are at the 50% mark right now. Thank you.
Yeah. If I might, the reason that, as I understood it, that we were looking at federal prisoners is because of the population of the jail had been running significantly below capacity, but yet we were hiring sufficient officers to meet capacity. And so we approved the hire of the total, for the whole jail. But we haven't had the number of prisoners to fill the beds that we have. So it's I don't disagree at all with what you said, because that's all part of it. Okay, anything else, Representative Cordelli?
Yes, Madam Chair, under Administration Building, page 7 on my sheet, medical insurance. We have not budgeted anything there, so I was just wondering what happened that we now have almost $3,000 in medical insurance. Is that a new employee? What?
Carroll changed, wasn't it?
The employee had a change of status and I was taking the coverage.
Thank you.
Anything else? Okay, it appears that overall, if you look at the bottom line here, wherever it is, on page 12, maybe? Yes. When you look at all of the departments, it appears that the general fund is at 43%. There are problems within the various departments overall, but when you look at the bottom line, it appears that we're doing okay. But we have to remember, if we need to shift money, we need to be contacted, and we need to approve it. Can't just say, well, we're at 43, no problem, because I think we've got some issues that need to be corrected. Representative Conklin?
Thank you, and I concur with what you just said. Could I just go back to income real quick? I was just looking at two items, and my understanding was we had a little bit of a policy change. We had a policy change with the farm, and we were going to, I understand that several items have been sold off, but I'm not seeing the old wood processor and so forth. Is that showing here under income? Is that somewhere else? I'm not seeing it there. And what we've sold off, I could follow up by looking at that, and I think that's recent, but you've sold off some things with the nursing home. Is that showing under income, or is that going to somewhere else?
Well, as a nursing home, that was just, some things were just sold, so they wouldn't show up in this report. I'm not sure about the sale of items on the farm, whether that just fits in here or is just after this quarter. But it should show in there as other income,
Perhaps
and
Kathy.
it hasn't been posted.
Perhaps Kathy could answer that.
Well, I'm looking at the detail to see if it happened in June or if it happened in July. If it was
Okay.
July, it wouldn't be reflected in here.
Okay.
But I can check on that and get back if
If you
you
would.
get back to it.
Representative Dane?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just following up on the statement, if an item is sold off, I heard someone say that I believe that it wouldn't necessarily show up in the revenue sheets, and I don't understand that comment. Maybe we could get some.
Where did you hear that comment?
I thought you had indicated that.
Not me.
No? Okay. So if something, a piece of equipment or something else is sold off,
Yeah,
it should show up in here.
that's right.
Okay.
Under other.
Yeah, right. Okay. Thank you for the
Are there-
clarification.
Yeah. Are there any questions on the enterprise fund that anyone has? I think if you look at the bottom line, and the reason that the enterprise fund is pretty important is because our next item on the agenda is the union contract and how we're going to pay for it. So, just keep that in mind if there are no questions. Okay. Yes?
Madam Chairman, my name is Rick DeMarco. I apologize for not understanding the meeting protocol. I pointed out by Commissioner Batson that I'm here with Sandy Brokaw from Madison, and we probably should have spoken in the public comments, but I just wanted to point that out and didn't know. I can explain further if that's possible, if that's correct.
We do have the opportunity for public comments at the end. Okay, and so we'll do that then. Yes, Representative Butler.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The gentleman who just spoke is concerned about the annex and its use, and so if possible, it might be useful to have their comments when we bring that up in the agenda.
Okay. that's
Yeah.
fine. Okay, so, everyone got a copy of the union contract. And our first vote needs to be on approval of the contract. Are there any, well, first of all, I'd like a motion that says we approve the contract for the, sure, my mind is blank.
If I could, Madam Chair?
Yes, for the nursing home.
A brief comment, the nursing home delegation subcommittee met at the beginning of the week and have looked at the budget and have considered several of the issues that we will take up today. So, considering that, the subcommittee, which on Monday comprised the Representatives Merrill, Algren, McConkey, myself, and Representative Nelson, did move to approve the union contract as proposed by a 5-0 vote. And so I would support that motion by moving to approve the union contract.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, Representative McConkey. Are there any comments, questions? Yes, Representative Cordell.
Yes, I had a number of questions. First, I guess, I see in the agreement clear areas where there were gains or benefits realized on the negotiations by the employee, by the union side. I'm wondering what benefits were arrived at through the negotiations on the management or county side of the ledger, because it is difficult for me to see any in this agreement.
Does someone want to comment on that?
Madam Chairman, the agreement with the union was to increase it by 40 cents an hour, and that comes up to $6,400.
64 what?
$64,207,936. And that's what we're asking for today is,
That was not Representative Cordell's question.
I know it wasn't, but
Okay.
that's all the delegation, I believe, can do is approve the money. Could you go into some other clarification on your question as to what you're looking for?
I thought it was fairly clear, but there are clear gains on one side of the ledger in here in that, for instance, additional break time for employees, for bargaining unit members. There are additional benefits in terms of dental coverage, and that the county now pays 100% of all premiums. In terms of vacation approval and the timing of vacation approvals. In terms of termination due to overextension of sick leave, county gave back the termination of employees after 3 steps have been gone through where there has been employee abuse of sick time. That required termination has been eliminated. So I see certain gains clearly gained by the union and the employees, and I'm just wondering what gains have management realized from these negotiations.
Want to speak to that?
If I could speak to that, the changes that you outlined, with the exception of the pay increase and the dental increase, are all, excuse me, are all confirming existing practice and do not reflect any kind of extra benefit. It's essentially writing in the 2 breaks. It's been established practice for decades, but it was never clear. So we wanted to have clear, so it's a language change, but there was not an increase in benefit change.
Are the increased dental costs included in the 64,000? Yes?
The dental was only a language change because we wanted to extend the year to become the same as when our health benefits, so we want to have open enrollment for everything. So it was just an extension of the contract this year and to change some of the language that's existing so that the county has more options versus to the benefit of the employees. It was just language changes.
Okay. Okay.
If I could follow up on that, the language that I'm referring to is that the county will now pay 100% of the premiums cost for dental coverage rather than a limited $17 per month. That's in section 26.2 on page 27. So it certainly sounds like a monetary change to me.
I don't know, they tell me it's not, so they haven't accounted for it.
Another question I had, in terms of past practice and its impact on this agreement, there has been much discussion over my first 2 years here about free meals. And free meals have been included in this prior contract, the only contract where free meals are provided for under the contract. And I've been attempting to find out the value of those free meals in terms of county obligation. What is the dollar cost to the county for those free meals? I've written several times, dating back a month, and have yet to get a response on that. And I was just wondering if anyone has an idea what the cost to the county is for providing free meals to nursing home employees.
The only thing I can say, Madam Chairman, is that this was negotiated along with a union contract for wages. It was done back in Brenda Presby's term as a commissioner. To the value, we can find out what the value is for you.
That would be great. I've been
But
trying
that
for
was-
the past month
that was
to find that
negotiated.
information, and I've been unable to get a response, so that would be appreciated.
I would just comment that I would think if you considered $5 a meal, that it would probably be reasonable, and you could then project from there. But I think that that's probably a reasonable ballpark.
Right.
Yep.
Okay, all right, so Commissioner Sorensen will provide that information to the...
I'd like to get the exact thing that he's looking for, maybe
Okay.
talk about it later.
Yeah, he can do that, and we'll expect that within the next week or so. Representative Conklin?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I just want to offer a little more commentary before we get to approving the full question. The subcommittee was told that this union contract and I believe all of our union contracts were extended for 1 year, and that they are going to work with extreme due diligence in September to see that all contracts are vetted, and that we don't have a 6-month delay before we get to a contract. The subcommittee had made some recommendations, and we were clear in our recommendations that, in our opinion, we were going to suggest that union contracts should be multi-year, so we didn't spend so much time and the amount of time we're about to spend again in September on this task. And that in the future, that no retroactive raises would be approved. And 3, the negotiation should include increased contributions by new employees for health care insurance beyond single coverage. At least 2 of those items we've talked about extensively for a number of years. And it was a recommendation out of the committee that passed again unanimously, a 5-0 vote, directing the commissioners with whatever authority we have to consider those major items.
We'll take that up after.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
Because I think that, this contract, I think, is to discuss the next
Okay.
year's contract.
Okay.
Not only for the nursing home, but for all contracts.
Okay.
And I guess that we're still, the jail, the House of Corrections has not
That's right.
made any progress.
That's right. Nothing has come forward from that union. It's a new union. I'm assuming that'll come in September for next year.
Okay. Okay. All right. Any other comments, questions? Yes, Representative Nelson.
Thank you. For clarification, the contract, the money that we're raising here is for what year?
14.
for this year.
Okay, I
And
thought
this,
somebody
and this
mentioned for
money
next year.
is through December, so it's on this year's budget, that's 64.
It's from January.
Past January to this.
To the
December.
1st of January.
That was my understanding, I just wanted clarification. Thank you.
All right, I think we should do a roll call on this, don't you?
Yes.
As we speak.
Okay, so the motion is to approve the Mount Washington, no, that's not Mount Washington, Mountain View. Whatever those guys are. Union contract. Okay.
And I will call the roll.
Oh, and it was,
Moved by myself and seconded by Representative McConkey. And I will vote yes.
you need to call the names again, they're not here.
Representative Algren is not here, Representative Bucco is not here, Representative Chandler is not here, Representative Cordelli,
Yes.
Representative Crawford,
Yes.
Representative Lavender, not here, Representative McConkey,
Yes.
Representative Merrow,
Yes.
Representative Nelson,
Yes.
Representative Schmidt,
Yes.
Representative Ticehurst,
Yes.
Representative White,
Yes.
Representative Wright,
Yes.
Representative Umberger.
Yes.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, unanimous.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, now we'll move on to how are we going to pay for this? And I know full well that the subcommittee, well, but actually, before we do that, Mark, why don't you make your motion for future negotiations? And this applies to all contracts, not just the nursing home?
Okay.
Is that,
Thank you. A recommendation that came out of the subcommittee, and we were looking at the nursing home contract at the time, but I think it's timely for all of our contracts, and especially that the commissioners are going to be actively engaged in September, I think was their goal, to try and bring this in at a reasonable time. So I'll read the motion again that was presented by our subcommittee, and I'll offer that as a motion to the delegation. We recommend that union contracts be multi-year, item number 1. Item number 2, that no retroactive raises should be approved. And lastly, item number 3, that negotiation should include increased contributions by new employees for health care insurance beyond single care. I think the first two are, the second item is that we run into a delay in getting agreement in the negotiations, and here we are 6 months signing a contract, and the contract for item number 2 was for a 40-cent increase, and we're paying retroactively back from the beginning of the contract. That was, I believe, the emphasis of why we put number 2 in. It was to hopefully engage in more timely negotiations. Number 3 was a conversation we've had in the past, in that presently, and we saw it, I believe, in our budget when we spoke earlier, a change of insurance by an employee, that at present they can move from single to couple and then to family. And it creates a budget item that we don't know that's happening, and we see a shortfall as we go through the months. And my understanding of the subcommittee, or my understanding of what we're talking is, we're not discussing employees that we already have and hired and have an arrangement with. They have apparently an understanding that they can do that they can move between. What we're looking at is future hires, when they first come in the door, that they set a policy that X percentage will be paid by the county, and that if they move into those other categories, then there will be the possibility of less compensation being paid by the county. So we're asking, we've asked that for a number of years, and we've formalized it by putting it into the motion.
If I could, do I have a second for that?
I'll second.
Okay, thank you.
Representative Merrill.
The term retroactive, okay, I think we need to change that to that once the budget is passed, okay, no raises should be approved, because obviously you can't pay them until the budget is passed by the delegation. You know, if they negotiate in good faith and they finish their negotiations on the 15th of January, or even the 1st of March, you know, it's the budget year, it's the budget passing by us that sets that. So what you're talking about, I think, is after the budget has been set, that we don't want to go back. Am I correct?
I'm not sure you're correct. I'm
Okay.
not sure you're not either, but it seems to me that what we're trying to do is not having any increases given that go back once the agreement has been made. In other words, when you make the agreement, and I think one of the reasons, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mark, Representative McConkey, one of the reasons that I think we did this is we felt that if we did it the way we'd done it, there might be a little more incentive to get the contract settled quicker.
Okay, if I might, just a quick question. You are suggesting then that if negotiations are not completed by 31 December, or actually 1 December, because that's when the commissioner's budget goes forward, then the raises don't go into effect?
Yeah, no.
No, I don't.
Well, that's exactly what you just said.
No, it doesn't.
No, that's not what I'm.
If the contract is finally settled in March, they don't get the pay increase from January 1st to March,
right.
that extra money, but they get it for March going to the end of the year.
Yeah, that's what we're trying to say.
So they're not really losing money, it's just an encouragement
Yeah.
to settle earlier,
Earlier.
and that helps everybody.
Might I ask a question? Madam Chair.
Might I say I disagree? Oh, go ahead.
Just so I understand the motion. Does the motion then commit the management team that under no circumstances will they consider retroactive raises and all the other things there? Is that a yes or a no?
Based on how it's been explained to me.
Recommendation. If I could, the process of the subcommittee was that we're making a recommendation to them. We're not saying they can't, because
Yeah.
that is not our power to do. We're,
It's not our power either with the union.
I
What
was
do you mean it's
somewhat
not?
troubled.
This is
Excuse me?
we're pre-determining what it should be with the union, and I don't believe you can do that. My thing is, we hope to have it all done by the 1st of December. And we will try to follow your guidelines of multi-year and so forth.
Representative Butler.
Thank you. Because we have the control of the budget, we can indeed not approve a piece of payroll that would impact increases that a union contract would present to us. I don't know
True.
actually if we can say from December to March, or January to March, we won't approve that, but that quarter of the budget, we could in fact not approve. So we would have some control of the purse string. But I don't think that we can mandate that the contract be completed by March 1st. I think what we're recommending is that we will not approve raises, and it's going to be interesting to see what the language ultimately is, but my understanding was that once the budget is approved, then that would be the payroll that we would be going forward with. So therefore, if the union contract wasn't completed by that time, then so be it. And therefore, the raises wouldn't go forward. They would not be within the budget, therefore they wouldn't be approved. That is the power of the delegation with the budget. But obviously, there are differences of opinion even within the subcommittee.
No, I don't think so. I might not have said it right, but I think that's, I think you got it right.
I concur.
Okay, Colonel, whoever you are, Commissioner Sorensen.
I'm Commissioner Sorensen. First of all, the union contracts are effective 1st of April. And it's done that way because you approved the budget by that time. So it goes into effect then. So from January 1 to April 1st, it's based on the negotiations the previous year. Okay? So that's one thing. The other thing is, you guys, delegation can turn down the contract, no question about it. I don't disagree with that at all.
Might I offer one more
Well, just a
comment?
moment. No. Not yet.
Yes, but no.
Commissioner Babson.
Thank you. The only concern I have with your recommendations is a fairness issue. I don't believe that if the union approves their contract, the commissioners approve the contract, and then you people don't come in here for a month and a half, I don't believe that the workers should be penalized for that month and a half. I think it should be that if you people approve the raise, then it ought to be a minimum retroactive to when both the commissioners and the union had signed the contract, because you don't come in here that often.
If the contracts are negotiated between January and April, we're here quite often. And that's one of the reasons I think why we really want to look at the multi-year. I'm not exactly sure.
I don't disagree with that.
I'm not exactly sure how we got to the one-year contracts.
The economy.
Yep.
And Obamacare.
Okay, Cindy, sorry, Representative White.
I have no problem with the delegation making recommendations of how we would like to see the priorities and the negotiations go. But I cannot vote for what's been presented because I think it really ties the hands of the negotiators. I think you have to have the ability to do that back and forth, give and take kind of thing to come to a good agreement. And I think the more restrictions you put on that, the more you go in to a situation where you're going to go to impasse right away, where you're going to drag it out, where you're not going to get a contract that you're going to see. They'll be less likely to be able to do a good faith negotiation when you put that many restrictions upon a contract, and I would have to vote against it.
That's right. I agree.
Superintendent.
Just to put my 2 cents worth in, with the negotiations as union president on the sides is, I would be concerned about with that as well. If you're automatically saying that and they can't get a contract together, maybe not this board, maybe the next board, if they choose to stall it out, the unions come back and say, you stalled it on purpose, so you don't have to pay us back for 3 or 4 months, the county just saved a bunch of money. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but that's what's going to, on the other side, it's going to look at it that way. If you put those kinds of stipulations, I agree that you need to be able to negotiate back and forth for what you need to get the contracts done.
Representative Schmidt.
Well, thank you, Madam Chair. In a more realistic world, I think what this delegation ought to consider as we get in front of contract negotiation is probably a delegation subcommittee that would work with the management teams prior to any ongoing negotiation. The result of that negotiation should be an understanding with management, which is our 3 elected officials at the moment, of what the limits are and what this county can afford during negotiations. Maybe it might be a range, not to exceed 2%, not to go under. How they achieve it, either salary increases, benefit reduction, benefit increases, is probably of no relevance to us. But there should be an understanding of what the effect would be, ultimately, of what they can deal with in terms of the final county budget. Can they deal with a 2% general increase, or 3%? That's basically how the real world works. And it's really not a bad thing. But to pass a resolution here as to some of the things they can't do, I think is crazy. It makes no sense to me whatsoever. I think between the subcommittee, if you ever choose to go that way, and them with a clear understanding of you're not to exceed this, then they know what they can bargain with. Here it's just the opposite. We're presented with a finished contract. We have no clue what's in it, other than to rubber stamp it and go, geez, great job. We have no understanding whatsoever of the parameters that were given to them. Well, there are no parameters given to them at the moment. None. I mean, it's just crazy. Why we do this year in and year out is beyond my comprehension. So this resolution, and I understand its intent, I don't have an issue with it, but it makes no sense to me. The only thing that makes sense to me is what I just described. I would really wish the delegation would consider it. Thank you.
A couple of things, if I might. I probably shouldn't comment at this point.
Oh,
I should
sure.
probably just let it go. Historically, the commissioners have not listened to our level of funding increase and have done whatever, and then have come at budget time and say, well, this is my budget, this is the way it is, and you cut it. Okay, so we've got distrust in that arena. And so it becomes difficult as we try to do something like you suggest, okay, that it probably won't work. And I think the other thing, and this is, none of my business, but the fact that there was not a commissioner on any of the negotiating teams is downright something or other, okay?
Ludicrous.
Well, I won't comment on that. But, these are the people that are supposed to be managing the finances. Why the decision was made, I'm not suggesting that the people that were there weren't doing a good job, because I know they did, okay? But, again, I don't think that the delegation, okay, should usurp the power of the commissioners, other than the fact that we didn't say you had to abide by this. We're suggesting that these are recommendations for their consideration when they do.
I think that's right.
I had a good night's sleep too. when they do negotiations, and parameters. I don't know what their parameters are at this point, or if they have ever set any for the negotiating team. And I don't know the answer to that. So. All right, let's see, Representative Nelson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think it should be clear to say that this is nothing in this of what we said is against the union or for people getting raises. It was simply trying to set a deadline for budgeting purposes. And I think that needs to be clear to anybody, any of the employees out there. There's nothing that was said about against the raises. It's strictly a timing issue that would help in budgeting purposes. That's it. Thank you.
Representative Merrill?
I can see both sides of this, but if I were a commissioner, and I were negotiating the union contract, and the delegation had set forth parameters, and there's the understanding there that maybe when the time comes, the delegation may in fact, if you don't follow these parameters, not approve the contract, which would leave us in kind of a mess, I guess. But nevertheless, it's there. Then if I were a commissioner, I'd want to know what those parameters were, even if I didn't abide by them. I'd want to know what I'd be looking at ahead of time. So I'm not sure that it's such a bad idea for telling them this. I mean, they still can go ahead and do it, but they ought to understand if they do it, then we still have the authority not to approve their contract. In the past, we've simply rubber stamped it basically when it's considered.
So if the contract runs from April to April, okay, which is what I was told,
Okay.
then we should only go back to April for pay increases.
Right.
And that 64,000 is from April.
April to the end of the year.
April
in
to
this year's
December.
budget.
Okay. Representative Cordelli.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I heard earlier that with this next contract that the commissioners would be actively engaged, and I think that that would be a welcome change. The fact that they have not been involved in negotiations is just unbelievable to me. The fact that they gave non-union employees a wage increase while or even before starting union negotiations is just unbelievable to me. It predisposed what the direction of those union negotiations would be. And it is my understanding that we're in this position of possibly supplemental or whatever because one good reason is that the negotiations were dragged out in part, it is my understanding, from the management's lawyer in these negotiations canceling meetings and not showing up and having no sense of urgency in the negotiations themselves. So it's a management issue. And from my watching of videos, the commissioners weren't even aware that this was being dragged out by the management side, which is just also unbelievable to me.
Here's the bottom line. What happened in the past happened in the past. And what we're trying to do is to prevent that from happening in the future. Okay? And so I think that could very well have been the motive and the reasoning, I shouldn't say motive, could be the reasoning behind why the subcommittee is recommending this. Okay? And I mean, we could add, in my opinion, a lot of other things, like there will be a commissioner on union negotiations. I mean, I can't believe, that, I mean, we shouldn't have to do that, but anyhow. Representative Nelson.
Thank you. Is there any reason we're looking in the future now that the negotiations couldn't go for, say, a year and a half or start, say, April 1st? We understand, but a year and a half from now, it'll have to end in December 31st. We'll change the date of the contract so it's in a calendar year.
Well, I don't. I think April 1st is a fine date for the contracts because it does give them some additional time before the budget. Yes, Commissioner Sorensen.
I'd like to react to Representative Cordelli's. We were involved. The management team, the attorney brought us up to date as to where the union contract stood and what we should go forward.
We don't need to go back. That's why I asked Representative Cordelli to stop. We're looking at going forward. And, we can, hindsight's always 20/20, and we know that. So, Representative Butler.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I agree with Representative White that the negotiators need as much flexibility as possible, and that we cannot bind the negotiators in any way. But I think that what this motion is intending to do is to make recommendations and to take the temperature of the will of the delegation. union contracts should be multi-year, it helps to give us stability in terms of the budget going forward. Obviously, as Commissioner Babson said, if the healthcare insurance environment changes and the only way that you can manage that is to do a one-year budget, then hopefully this would open up the line of communication and say, you know, we're in this process and it looks to us like we're only going to be able to do a year's budget. We need to include the delegation in that communication so that we become aware as opposed to contradictory or challenging to the process. So I would support the motion. I think that the language relative to the second section on raises needs to be clarified a bit, but then I think we should move forward.
Representative Cordone?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just to follow up on Representative Schmidt's idea about a committee possibly. There is, in effect now, a compensation committee, subcommittee, that in the future, you know, at the will of the delegation, you know, could be involved to the extent, as Representative Schmidt suggested, in terms of looking at compensation at the beginning of the negotiations and discussions with the management team.
Let me just say, I am not in favor of anyone on the delegation participating in any way, shape, or form with the union contract negotiation. I just feel that that is not our responsibility. We have enough responsibilities that we don't need to add something that is, in my opinion, truly not part of our life. But anyhow, so I'd like to go ahead and call for a vote.
Could somebody repeat what we're voting on?
Yeah, we can repeat what we're voting on. That will be done by our fearless clerk.
Yeah. If I might, the motion would be that the delegation recommends to the commission that union contracts be multi-year. Second, that no raises be approved beyond the contract year. No raises, no retroactive raises be approved beyond the contract year. And that negotiations should include increased contributions by new employees for health care insurance beyond single coverage.
Okay, now my question is, that's a little bit different than what Representative McConkey said. So,
Which I might add came from the minutes that Representative Butler wrote. So perhaps he's found clarity since
That's why it says draft.
So the question is, will you withdraw your motion?
I would withdraw my motion.
And will you withdraw your second?
Yes.
Okay. And so what we're changing on the draft is that no
raises be approved retroactively beyond the contract year. That doesn't work. How do you say that you won't approve retroactive raises once the budget is approved?
Start of contract year. Start of the contract year.
Beyond start of the contract year.
But that doesn't work. But that's not what you're trying to say. What you're trying to say is if you can't get your contract done by the 1st of April.
Right.
Then when you
Start your contract.
when the contract, you're working under the old contract until the new contract is effective. So what you really want to say, I think, is that no raises should be approved prior to contract approval. Does that make sense?
Yes. Prior to the date of contract approval?
Right. Yes?
That still doesn't sound right. It sounds like the raises should, it's the amount of the raises?
No retroactive raises should be approved prior to the.
Yep.
No, that's not gonna do it, is it?
There it is.
Because I could put them in a contract. You should put it prior to the contract.
Why don't you just say no raises will be effective until the execution date
There
of
you
the
go.
contract?
That doesn't seem to be crazy to suggest.
Prior to the effective date of the
Prior to
contract.
the execution date of the contract.
The second part of that motion will be no raise, will be approved prior to the execution date of the contract.
Yep. So that gives them a carrot to negotiate rather than blow it out forever.
Is the execution date,
It's when you sign and approve it.
Is that,
because they changed the execution date to say, well, we're gonna have it starting
The
at.
execution date is the execution date. No, you know, but again, this is for consideration.
And this is just a recommendation, so we're close.
and then 3?
And 3, again, is that negotiations should include increased contributions by new employees for health care insurance beyond single coverage.
I have a question about that. I have a question about the third part, excuse me.
Okay, just a moment. Do I have a second to this motion?
I'll second it.
Thank you.
I need clarification of that third part, if you don't mind.
We don't mind.
So if an employee is married and they sign the contract, and 6 months into the contract year, that married couple has a baby or adopts a baby or something like that and needs to go to a family plan, they can't do that? They have to wait until the following year? I mean, I just need some clarification because, you know, things happen.
If I understand this correctly, okay, and the people can tell me where I'm wrong, is that if I am a new employee only, okay, if I'm already employed, then I don't have
That's off.
all, you know,
Yeah.
whatever you want to do.
Okay.
But if I am a new employee, then if my status changes, you know, I get married and
Mhm.
then that would not be paid for. Okay?
Well,
Or
do
if I have a baby, okay, then once I assume, again, we haven't said, but I think that would be up to the commissioners to figure out when you, either does that continue forever or,
And if I could just clarify, what happens in other employment situations that I have been involved in is that your contribution to health insurance, and I think we have an 80-20 now for single coverage, would increase if you add your spouse or if you add family members. It would not define that your contract date is from here to here and you can't change it. It can be changed at any time, as it can now, but that your contribution would go up so that the nursing home is, the budget is not bearing the total cost of those benefits.
Okay. A follow-up?
Madam.
May I have a
Yep,
follow-up?
just a minute.
Thank you. So is that indefinite? So I'm a new employee, I'm single, I take the job, and this is a contract year, say it's only a one contract year, or even, let me give it a multi-contract year. I get married. I know that when I took the job and I got married, that I would have to pay more for my spouse. Then I have a baby, and now I have to even pay more. Okay, is that just for that contract and then it's renegotiated? Or it might, when I sign, when I say I'm gonna take this job indefinitely, I know that I'm gonna be paying more money because I got married and I had a baby?
I think that that's a negotiation item.
Well, that's what I'm asking, is, I mean, it's, so it would be negotiated every contract, because I'm not happy about that.
The percentage of your contribution can be negotiated with every contract.
Right.
You know, whether it's a single coverage or not. We could choose to cover 100% of somebody's insurance policy.
But you're saying every contract year, that new employee is going to have to renegotiate, or going to have his union renegotiate that so that they get coverage, because their fellow employees who are already here have that coverage anyways.
Representative Schmidt.
Thank you. I like that again. Most of the lodge, and I'll defer to our HR manager down here, the definitions are normally included under a title that's called life events. Life events are defined as marriage, death, divorce. How you deal with that is a county issue. Once the definitions are in place, if it's a bargaining unit and they need to negotiate it, it should be in the contract. But clearly, I suspect the county already has the life events in their HR policy, I would hope. But that's, basically, that's how you do it. I mean, it's not a, let's decide how we deal with it tomorrow thing. You know, it happens all the time. People die, people get divorced, whatever. You know, it's defined under a title called life events. And that's how you manage it. It's trust me, it's not rocket science. It really isn't.
Okay. Trust me, I'd like to get a vote off. Yes.
Yeah, just one thing on this. If the county's paying 80%, and the employee's paying 20%, and something happens that the insurance goes up $10,000, they're both paying more, because the company's paying 80% of that, and the employee's 20% is going to increase. So are we talking about taking another increase on top of an increase, or what are we talking about?
The answer is yes.
Yes, the answer is definitely yes.
Representative McConkey.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I think at present, I'm a little more concerned that both of our representatives are thinking of switching their husbands, if I heard that conversation. So, a little concerned. The county, one of the great benefits of working for our county is an extremely good healthcare package. Okay? When we had, in some cases, it can be 25% of their salary increase in just what they're getting for a benefit. That's important. A number of years ago, we had a subcommittee that looked at healthcare benefits and helped make recommendations, and we did that with HR. One of the items that came out of there was that the union, the people representing the unions, would like to have more wages. And the difficulty came from the delegation members that that's a nice idea, but you know the taxpayers are paying that rate. The unions, in my understanding, wanted to protect the people that they already have in the union going forward. That's their number one priority, and how are we going to get them more money? And the people coming into the system, there might be some room to negotiate health care, because it had been in those years a huge climb, tens of thousands of dollars to us. That if new employees came in knew what the game was when they entered, and that we didn't take away anything from the employees that we already had, that there might be some extra room left at the table that hopefully would translate to more income for them at another time. So switch out of the county and go to the private sector, where most people are employed by someone that's 5 people or less, and they're doing everything they can to keep their businesses going, and they would love to have the opportunity to offer that health care, and they can't. You have a national program that's working to fill that void, whether it does or doesn't, I don't know. But just because it's nice that we have always done this in the past, I think it's more responsible, and I think what the subcommittee was looking at was how to make it more responsible going forward. And that was the reason that, in my understanding, that if you came in as a single, you were assured you were always going to get a single. But if you wanted to work your way up through there, as it has been the privilege of other employees here over the years, that they would not have the same policy of just going laterally across at the same contribution, that they would negotiate, the commissioners or the team would negotiate that instead of 80%, it might be 75%, it might be 79%, I don't know. But we're telling new employees, this is what you're coming in with. That was our intent.
Okay, real quick, really quick. I appreciate that explanation, and I understand that. I guess what I'm saying is that it's gonna have to really go back to the negotiating team. We're just giving a suggestion, which is a good thing. And I hope that if the way you just said at the end, that when they go back to negotiate, are they negotiating for two different groups? Are they always negotiating for the old employees and then they have to negotiate for the new employees? I mean, I guess that's up to them.
That's up to them.
Right, okay, thank you.
Okay. Representative Nelson, let's move.
Well, I don't look like you're happy to ask me this. How I'm interpreting, and I'm pretty much with you, Representative, is that, as far as I see it, the percentage may be different for somebody new, but they can change if they have a child or married during that period. They would be able to switch to that, but they wouldn't be the 80%, wouldn't be the number used. It may be 75% for that. That's the way I'm looking at it personally.
Okay. So, I would like to have a roll call on this, please.
And the motion is that the delegation recommends to the commission that union contracts should be multi-year, that no raises are to be approved prior to the execution date of the contract, and that negotiations should include increased contributions by employees for healthcare insurance beyond single coverage. Representative Algren is not here. Representative Bucco is not here. I will vote yes. Representative Jean Chandler is not here. Representative Cordelli.
Yes.
Representative Crawford.
Okay.
Representative Lavender is not here. Representative McConkey.
Yes.
Representative Merrill.
Yes.
Representative Nelson.
Yes.
Representative Schmidt.
No.
Representative Tysers.
No.
Representative Representative White.
No.
Representative Wright.
No.
Representative Umberger.
Yes.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in favor and 4 against.
Okay, the motion passes. Okay, let us figure out how we're gonna pay for this $64,000 question. Does the subcommittee have a recommendation?
Representative McConkey.
Thank you, Representative Bowles. There was great discussion whether this item needed a supplemental budget or not. In the beginning, we were under the impression that the extra income that we received back from the state on our pro share, that we could appropriate that money for that. We found out at our last subcommittee that we could not. There was great discussion after that, looking at income at the nursing home, whether those funds could be absorbed by monies coming in that we were under the impression might be coming. I believe we saw that there might be as much as $100,000 of income that had not been credited, if I remember right, Representative Butler. And so I think our subcommittee was under the impression that this could be absorbed in this year's budget. But with that said, the subcommittee wanted to note in there of this increase so that going forward it would be shown in there as an increase to the budget. We didn't know how to accomplish that, and we stand here before you today.
So, if I heard you correctly, what we're looking for is a change to the line that indicates the wages. We're looking for a change to the line that indicates wages.
Yes.
Okay. And where is the line that shows the revenue is within the department or lines?
It was, I believe, under, let me just take a peek. I believe it was under, enterprise fund.
Howie, do you want to comment on that?
Well, we anticipate there'll be $60,000 to $64,000 in greater revenue, but that's not the same as being able to guarantee it to.
Well, we understand that. We've already figured out that the Register of Deeds can't guarantee anything either.
Well, we're hoping to get it from the end, but.
Oh, you were?
But I think we can take, I think it is a reasonable assumption to think that revenues will increase by that amount and more.
Right, but I still think we need to identify the revenue lines that, that we're using to, you know, because we need to make those adjustments. Yes, go ahead.
My understanding, Mr. Chandler, was that Mr. Chandler?
Yes.
Did we not get, or are we not getting, expecting as much as a $400,000
600.
increase in pro-share money that was not?
600.
600 expected?
Yeah, that's right.
So that's,
Received.
I'll defer to Kathy for whether that shows up directly in our budget or whether that goes to.
No, it goes in there.
It goes into that budget, so that would cover, if you were looking for an account to credit it, you know, Kathy recommends, and I agree, 010, the Medicaid room and board would be a reasonable one to increase the revenue by a proportional amount to the expense for payroll.
And on the contractual allowed Medicaid line, which is 097, the 56% of revenue, did we not discuss that that was expected to continue to be at least more than projected?
It should be, if it trends at the same rate, will be 12% over budget, which in rough numbers would be almost exactly the $64,000 you need.
So Kathy, how do we make the changes that say, expense for wages goes up this much?
Yeah, it's, we've done it in the past on a supplemental budget form under, on the MS 42, a supplemental budget form. You would put in the nursing home expenditure side, the 64,200, and then in the nursing home revenue side, we would put the 64,200.
But we're not getting extra. Where's the extra revenue?
How we just said in Medicaid.
Room and board.
Okay.
019.
So we
So
don't.
it's on both sides.
Okay, so we don't have to reduce that. We're just showing that we're getting the revenue to cover it.
Yeah.
Okay. But we do have to send that form in to make the
Yes.
adjustment.
Yes.
Okay. But there's no cost.
Right.
No, you just have to have the proper notifications that have to go out to the towns, to the reps, to the Department of Revenue.
And what is the timeline for that?
You have to do it It has to be within 30 days. The public notice for a public hearing is no earlier than 5, no later than 20 days. So you would send out a public notice for the supplemental budget for that amount, have it at that time when you send the public notice, you send the supplemental budget to the respective towns, state reps, Department of Revenue. I think we passed out the statutes
Yeah.
and the regulations.
Okay, so, do you have the dates that we need to do that?
That's entirely up to,
Don't tell me it's up to me.
well, no, I mean, you can do it in 2 weeks.
You tell me what the dates are,
You
and
could do, if you want to say, if you want it on
Okay.
Monday,
tell me what the dates are, and we'll,
okay,
okay,
August 25th,
all right,
that's 2 weeks from today.
all right?
25th?
She said.
And that is when we approve it after
Right,
public
at
hearing?
the public hearing, yeah.
Okay. And then any other date?
No,
That's it?
no, that's it.
Okay, so you can get this out to all the towns,
Yeah, I have it typed up.
okay?
All right, go.
I
Okay.
would just need your signature
Oh, it
and
says you need the
and
clerk,
Representative Butler's
Yeah.
signature.
okay, on the MS 42.
MS 42, yeah.
Okay. Okay. So,
If I could just,
you can say whatever you want.
since Representative Aldrin isn't here, I will speak for him. He seemed to think that it's $64,000. You know, we've had impacts to budgets that have modified lines one way or the other, and that it has been resolvable through the budget process by the end of the year. And he didn't think that a formal supplemental budget would be required, because this 64.3 would be able to be absorbed within the process of the budget over the coming ensuing months. I just want to raise that and wonder, do we need to do the supplemental budget?
Representative Brady?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think there's some confusion. What exactly is going to happen on August 25th?
We're going to vote to approve $64,207.94.
We're going to approve it, so we'll
Yes.
be back here.
Yes.
And it will be a public meeting.
And it will, and we will ask the public to provide any comments that they might have. Okay? And then, after they provide the comments, we either support or not support it. That's where Representative Butler was saying before, we have the purse strings, so to speak.
Thank you.
Okay. But that's what needs to occur. And I would just say on the question, if I could, on the question of whether or not we need a supplemental budget, my thought process is that because it is specifically wages, you know, to have sort of this blip in the wage line could cause a lot of consternation in the future, because we didn't approve that.
I do understand that. I just wanted to raise the counter argument.
Yes,
Thank you, Madam
Representative Schmidt.
Chair. I kind of agree with Representative Aldrin. The issue here on a supplemental would be if the current budget that we approved, that's already in the bag, cannot absorb this increase, then we would need a supplemental. I've just heard testimony that on the revenue side, it certainly can absorb it.
Not only can it absorb it, it could probably absorb up to about 110,000. So the question in my mind is, why are we doing this? Let's just move on. It's clearly, it can be absorbed. It's been approved. Let's go forward.
It hasn't been approved.
The contract.
What I'm saying is that the budget has been approved.
Oh, the budget has been.
Well, and if it can absorb it without a change in the bottom line, let's move on. We don't need it.
Representative Nelson.
Thank you. I'm going to ask the other selected, can a town overspend their budget without state approval?
That brings us up to 10%.
I didn't think we could at all.
I don't know how that applies here, but I assume it's probably the same. But it's not the wisest thing to do.
Yeah, I agree with that. Okay, Commissioner Sorensen.
Yes, I agree with Representative Schmidt, but you have to approve the over expenditure in a line item for wages. And then you have to approve where that's going to come from. The easiest, simplest thing to do is to have a supplemental budget and get through with it. She's got the paperwork all ready to go. It means you coming down here on the 25th, having a public hearing and approving it, and it's all done.
Who's got the site? Oh, you need to pass that.
Speaking of another meeting.
Yeah. I'm gonna be over my budgets. You guys are driving me crazy. As it stands right now, the only thing that we have approved is the contract. We have not approved any pay increase. Okay? That's not, because we haven't appropriated the money. So that, that's.
I'm fine with that.
Yes.
If we do have a supplemental budget, is there anything to prevent our other budget to not absorb that? I mean, the regular budget to not absorb that money, and thus have an increase overall in the budget? I mean, is there any check to keep them from spending the money that we now approve?
The appropriation will increase by $64,000. Okay?
Right.
But the income, the revenue side, we have no guarantee that it's going to increase. But we are speculating that it will. And you heard that we already have $100,000 shortfall in revenue. Not in the nursing home, but in the registry of deeds, which affects all of the rest of the things. Okay. So I'm not sure that we, well, I guess we should, I don't think we need to take a vote, but I just want to make sure that I'm not going to arrive here on the 25th all by myself. Okay?
Suggest Representative Butler be here with you.
Says who?
Yeah.
Recording.
And I'm not sure if this is one of those 2/3 votes or not.
It's simple, just take it.
Yeah.
On the day of the of the meeting?
Yeah, because we are changing a line item.
I think that.
Kathy, would you,
There's nothing in the statute that says a 2/3.
I know, but it may not be with this, but it may be someplace else. All this is telling us is how to do it. This isn't telling us what kind of vote we need to approve it. So, we'll, we'll take a look at that. and
Does
see.
somebody make good apple fritters so that we can entice people to come?
I'll do something. Okay, so August 25th, and between Kathy and I, we'll research the other statutes to see if this requires a 2/3 vote.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm still, I don't think we have a consensus that we need to have a supplemental budget hearing at all. I just, I don't know that we need to have one. We don't know that we need to have
Well,
a supplemental
then
budget.
we can't, then, you're right, we don't have to have a supplemental budget, but then the people don't get the raise because it's not been appropriated.
We have the ability, I think, Madam Chair, to increase, to credit the salary line today and to debit the other line today also.
No, we don't.
Could you explain to me why we don't?
Because that requires the supplemental budget.
Just do the supplemental.
If you were reducing some other line in the budget, in the appropriation, by $64,000, then we could do that. But we are simply increasing the appropriation.
No, my understanding was we had testimony on the Medicaid income line that was predicted to be 12% over. You
It has-
can't debit that line, and
No. Because there's no appropriation at this point to put it against. So, I guess those are the choices. So how many people, I guess we better ask that question, right? Just a straw poll, we don't have to take a vote on it, but how many people think we ought to come back on the 25th to approve a supplemental budget? Just show of hands.
I
1,
think it's
2,
probably gonna be easy if you do it that way.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I guess that's enough.
I see eight.
Okay, so you guys that didn't raise your hand, if you don't, here's the deal. If you choose not to come, okay, then the people will not get their raise.
And thus our budget
You
won't
can
go
have a
up.
majority.
That's right. Our appropriation won't go up.
Okay.
If it's a simple
Okay.
But on the other hand, if they can overspend by 10%, it really doesn't matter. to
They
me.
can't, can't do that.
That applies to counties.
No, that's, yeah.
The town has to go to
Okay, I'm gonna take a,
Superior Court.
oh,
Yes, they need money.
Representative White, you had a question?
I just wanted,
Oh, I'm looking at Ted.
I'm sorry.
Oh, you did.
I just wanted
If you
to
want
know
to
if we could get clarification on it. If we need just a simple majority, it doesn't matter how many people are here, right?
That's correct, and that's why Kathy, that's why, well, it does matter, we have to have 8.
Oh, we have to have, that's what I wanted, how many people we have to have. Okay.
But that's what Kathy is going to pursue, and Karen will also pursue some of that. So, I would like to take a 5-minute break. Okay? All right, I'll call the meeting back to order.
I don't know, she's got to change her mind on that, because that's something that I just think is ridiculous, that she's so.
Does anyone know where Melissa is?
She left screaming, said she's never coming back.
She's had enough.
Okay.
Was that due to sitting next to you or just the general?
Thinking about
I was talking crazy, and she wasn't sure where that was coming from.
Okay.
I said, you don't have any sharp pencils on there.
What I'm going to do is, I'm going to, just since we're still missing some people, I would like to have Representative McConkey speak about the performance audit update.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you. The Matrix has published their draft, receipt of it last week, and there was problems. He had sent it out actually 2 weeks prior, and there were formatting issues and corrupted files and so forth, and we went back and forth several occasions, sending the document back and forth, and I still wasn't able to open it. Finally, they discovered that there was an issue on their end, and so then they went back to the Word document that they had drafted the proposal in, and for some reason they'd had a bug that went through their whole system. Bottom line, they had to recreate from a backup copy from a long time previous, and they delivered the document to me last couple days. The timing was close, and I was considering having a performance audit subcommittee meeting today, but I missed my notice time. The document's in excess, I think, of 100 pages. Is, I believe, in my first viewing of it, clearly followed the direction that we had given the company and what we were looking to, the product we were looking to receive. In no way is it a boilerplate document that the subcommittee had looked at some of the previous audits that were done by other counties. So I think it's very comprehensive. This morning when I distributed it to the subcommittee before I came here, I'd asked for them to give some time to review that, and that we would come together as a subcommittee and reach discussion amongst us whether we were looking for more or if there were other areas that needed additional comment. And that's where I am at this point, Madam Chairman.
Okay. I guess my question is that since it is such a lengthy document, do you think it would be advantageous to distribute it to the entire delegation, and then perhaps on the 25th, in addition to our supplemental budget thing, we could have the person from Matrix here and would then allow everybody to have a discussion about that?
Thank you. I think originally our intent was that Alan would be here, the gentleman from Matrix, at this meeting, so it was our hope that the subcommittee would have already seen it and then it'd be distributed, and then we'd be having that meeting now. I'm not opposed to what the chairman is just, especially in light that, and I don't like to have too many more meetings going forward. We're going to all be even busier, so I guess I would ask my subcommittee members if they would be opposed to distributing it to the whole, and then we would come together on the 25th, and then the delegation would have a clear understanding, because otherwise, if we schedule a meeting, we're going to be so tight on that anyway. So, if I could, Representative Cordelli?
I would support that notion that it be distributed to the entire committee and that we discuss it with the Matrix representative on the 25th. I think the timing works better that way for all of us, and for
making the information available to the public as well as to the rest of the delegation.
Representative Ticehurst?
I believe I checked our agreement at the beginning, and I don't recall that there was anything that said that the committee had to receive it ahead of time. The only question I have is whether the people who did the study feel that they want to be there to answer questions when it's, or to make a presentation. I don't know. But I will note that I'm a member of the committee, but I did not get a copy, and I really want a copy.
A copy has been sent to you this morning. They
Didn't arrive in her email.
didn't arrive in her email. It seems to be a,
It may be that I had already left by the time you sent it.
yeah, it had, I sent myself a copy just for that reason, to make sure that it was distributed. It has been sent. So to answer the other part of the question, part of our agreement was that they would come back and speak to the delegation and/or the subcommittee to answer questions. So if we were to eliminate one more subcommittee meeting and move to the delegation, I think we'd be served just as well. Representative Smith?
Thank you, Representative. Did the gentleman prepare an executive summary of the 100-page report?
Yes, there is an executive summary. But I think that it's good to read the entire report.
Have it as a reference at least.
Well, no.
Any chance of having that copied so we can take it with us? before we go
Yes,
home?
yes. Yes.
I've never heard you say 5 yeses like that.
Representative Ticehurst?
Wasn't part of the RFP part that said that they were to supply a copy for each member of the delegation, a hard copy?
We can check on that.
Yeah,
That's
but
right.
I think there's
that
18 copies requested in the
That's the final.
That was the final, that's right. That was the final.
It was the
report.
final. Would you like to see a hard copy of the draft at this point?
Well, I think if people are asking for it, and if it was to be supplied, then that would be the most economical way to go
Sounds like a
about
budget buster to
doing that.
me.
No, we're gonna take this downstairs.
We're gonna take it
and
down?
off, and
Okay, all right.
I'm not suggesting that the county do that, I'm suggesting that they were to supply that for us. But is this not the final copy
No,
that we're
this
getting?
is the draft.
This is a draft. I
That's
see.
correct.
So I guess my
when would we
question,
be getting the final copy?
after we've been briefed.
Okay.
Can somebody, I've been on the meetings on this, but am I on the committee? Because if I did, I didn't get a copy of that today. I just checked my email.
Representative Merrill, I was unaware that you were on the committee. and
Okay,
you
well,
were
that's
outside
fine.
of
I don't know. I've been to the meetings, some of the meetings, and that's fine. I don't.
If someone wants an email copy of this, okay, we'll be more than happy to email it to you. But I got to the point where after the first 2 pages, I couldn't read anymore. And so I printed it out. And it came to, I think it was 94 pages. And so I think that that's the sort of document, unless everybody wants to run back and front 46 pages, but we'll have it, we'll run some copies, and if you'd rather read it on email, that's a good idea.
Madam Chairman, she,
I know.
Melissa's going downstairs to
I
make
understand
copies for
that.
everybody now.
She's taking it down to have Cheryl run copies, I believe.
Yeah.
If it turns out that our contract says that Matrix is to supply us with copies of a draft, then we will back charge them for that service.
Okay. The reason I didn't want Melissa to go on the agenda. All right. So, who wants to,
Oh, I have a
Like,
question.
do we need, it seems the commissioners have some concern of the cost of that item. Could we make an inquiry on?
it's right
on-
here.
On what our cost would be?
I've got the, they'll figure that out, I'm sure.
And then if need be, then our delegation will be charged that fee.
That's correct.
Yeah, thank you.
I was looking for, I brought the draft thing with me.
Yeah.
Anyhow.
Commissioners?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
You take it back over,
No,
Madam Chairman?
go ahead, please.
Yes, I have a question for Representative McConkey. Did you read the draft of 94 pages?
Have I read the draft?
Yes.
I've worked my way through it.
Yeah, and was it also included policies, procedures, and non-union employee handbook? Because if that is a total of 60, 70 pages, I don't think that we have to copy all of those.
It is broken into detail, specific items, and then more detail from that, and you really do need the entire length of the document.
Okay.
If it's a problem and our budget doesn't have the money for the copies, then I suggest that we'll take a donation to pay for that, and I'll make up the shortfall. It would seem the government should be able to make a copy.
Anyhow, the report is very extensive, and yes, I have read the entire draft, and I found it to be extremely interesting, as I am sure that everyone else who reads it will. And that's all we're going to say. Okay, and I'm looking for that, because I brought it with me. Okay. Let us go to the next item on the agenda, which is the old nursing home.
No, it's
With the status of the audits was next.
the next item is
No, I skipped.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
Okay.
You said the next item.
Let's go into the discussion.
Oh, did I miss something? Oh, current status of the audit, correct.
Actually,
Excuse me.
Jack is here.
Okay, Jack. I'm not happy about what I'm gonna hear.
Well,
I don't know what you're gonna hear.
To the best of my knowledge, what we've heard over the last week or so is that the 2010
thank you.
financials and audit are almost complete. We've gotten 2 additional bills from Ron Bolio's office, and all of them say progress billings. And basically what I've told the commissioners and what I've told Kathy is that I don't mind cutting the checks, but we're not going to release the checks to them unless we have a draft of 2010 financials and audit in hand. At this point, I believe it was June 25th when Mr. Bolio was here, and I believe he said that if we signed off and he was going to produce the financials, which ultimately that's what happened, he could turn those reports around to us within 2 to 3 weeks. It's been about 2.5 weeks right now since he was, since we signed those paperwork. So as far as I'm concerned, the end of this week is going to be 3 weeks. He can have his check as long as we have a draft. So we don't have to have the final number, but we have to have at least something to show he actually did some work. Because right at this point, we paid his firm a lot of money for a lot of progress billings for 2010, 2011, 2012. We don't have a single copy, a single log of hours. We have nothing in hand to say what he's actually done. So before we give him a check, I just want to see something on paper that says we've done something.
Okay, so the bottom line is nothing.
The bottom line is, according to his last email, they're very, very close in having the 2010 financials and audit complete, at least in the initial draft form. And again, if we hold his feet to the fire that he said 2 to 3 weeks, 3 weeks is Thursday of this week, that Thursday of this week, if he wants his check, he can bring some paperwork with him.
Is he coming to the meeting?
Well, we'll find out. Again, I wanted to update you. He's basically saying his contract says, pay us before you get anything. I think we've paid him enough before we demand some paperwork.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
hopefully, we'll have that, at least a preliminary at the end of this week.
Okay.
And then the delegation can look at the audit and understand what he's been doing.
And hopefully, if you get a draft, we sure would like to see it.
Yeah, it should, and again, usually, generally, if he's done the new financial statements that will correct any of the deficiencies or changes that he required, he's doing the work, which means he can sign off on the audit. And if you remember in June when he was here, I believe he said, I've got almost the entire audit done. I could probably sign it today, but I give you a negative review. So if he was that close to having the audit finished on June 25th, to have the current updated financials completed, there shouldn't be much in that audit report that he has to change to make it official. So.
Okay. Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Yes. Representative Butler.
Thank you. On the 25th, do you think that it would be possible to do some kind of a formal report on that? My concern is its impact to, how it rolls out over the next few years. And I realize that financial statements may not have been completed for those years, but at least a sense of the impact would be good.
I think we can certainly ask that, and if he wants to, I think it would be appropriate for him to be here then, if he's available, to explain that piece of the process.
I wholeheartedly agree with that. I don't want to have another meeting just to talk about the audit. Yes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a question. So 2010 will be completed and we will have hopefully an unqualified audit statement attesting to the validity of 2010. What's the plan for moving forward with 11 and 12 and 13 and 13?
Well, at least 11 and 12. He's already done some preliminary work on 11 and 12 as far as setting up accounts, getting all the pieces in. In order to complete that process, he obviously has to finish 2010, so you have correct starting balances for 11, which would again give you correct ending balances for 11 and beginning starting balances for 12. So again, once he finishes 10, the balance of the process should be fairly quickly equipped to finish both 11 and 12. But again, I think you could ask him for a timing frame on exactly how long that's going to take him.
It's okay. Might I direct my question to the commissioners? So on a going forward basis, it's the intent of the county commissioners that we will audit on an annual basis?
Yes.
And we will, so that's policy now. Thank you.
Yep. Both financials and audit.
Yes.
One point on that, if I might. I think I had possibly said it in a prior meeting that I did not think it was in the statutes that a county audit was required annually just for municipalities. I since have gone back to Budget Research Office on history of requirements for county audits, and they sent me a fairly complete package on that going back to 1872. So if you want to know the requirements for audits in 1880, I can fill you in. But the current statute that is applicable, I think, was modified in 1985.
1885. More than likely.
And it's section 21J:20, audit on the motion of a commissioner, also includes the following. The accounts of all county officers shall be audited annually by a certified public accountant, and a complete report of such audit shall be made available to the public. That's the current statute.
Okay.
Could I get that again? 1995? That was done?
1985.
85.
It doesn't matter.
And it's 21J:20.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay,
So if I could follow up?
you may.
So the research that was done by the state agency that provided that information for you would then tell me that our discussion a month or 2 months back saying that it was our impression that counties were not required to have an annual audit was probably incorrect, and that we were in error in what we did.
That is my understanding. And if I could just point out, I think it's maybe 2008 that statute was last revised, but it just removed the ability for the Department of Revenue Administration to require an audit to be done, or to take part in the audit, actually.
Thank you.
So our hope is that on the 25th, we will have 2 visitors. Okay? Okay. Old Nursing Home Subcommittee update. Bob. Is it Bob?
No, my name's Rick.
Rick? Oh, okay, well. You had,
Good morning. My name is,
okay. You had indicated that you wanted to speak on this topic. Is that correct?
Yeah.
On the old nursing home. Okay, so if you would, you may have the floor.
Thank you, and thank you for agreeing to hear me. My name is Sandra Brokar. I'm a small farmer and small-scale food producer from Madison. It's my understanding that the delegation is going to be voting today on whether to dismantle the kitchen in the old nursing home. And by dismantle, I mean selling the equipment. I was made aware of that last Friday afternoon. I have been working with a number of small farmers and groups here in Carroll County to develop further the agricultural segment and the food producing segment of our economy. One of the items that we have seen a need for, although we have never formalized it, is a commercial kitchen for a food producing company, a business, private business, to lease. My request this morning is that you delay the vote on dismantling the kitchen for 2 weeks until we can draw, 2 months, sorry, draw a group of people together to produce a plan to move forward. Thank you.
May I ask a question?
Yep, you may.
Yep, but this, the group of people that you want for the kitchen, are you suggesting that they would be using the kitchen here, or you would take the kitchen equipment somewhere else?
We will be leasing the equipment, the kitchen, from the county, using it here.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Any other questions from the delegation? Commissioner Basson?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I started this procedure back, I guess it was about the first week of May, and I contacted the two things. Representative Algren felt that it was an ideal place for Dunkin' Donuts to make donuts and distribute it, or somebody of that nature. I contacted Dunkin' Donuts, and they were about as excited about renting the place as they were filling the center of the hole in the donut with more dough. And so that went down the drain. But the Department of Agriculture, the commissioner put out the feelers. For some reason, there's been a delay from May until, I guess it was Friday that Rick contacted me. One of the things that I would like to make it clear to you folks, we're not interested in running this kitchen and for you to come in and make piccalilli on Monday. We want to lease out that thing to an organization. You're in charge of everything. You sign a lease. We get the revenue. Yes, we'll maintain the building for leaks, etc. But you run the whole thing.
That would be my intention.
May I ask a question? Is it my turn?
Please, Madam Chairman.
Is this the thought process for a profit or non-profit?
It would be for profit.
Representative Buck.
Thank you. I wonder if at this time we could talk about the overall discussion that we've had about the annex and the process that we're moving forward with, and how the proposal from Ms. Brokar might or might not fit into that.
You may. Whoever wants to.
Between Representative McConkey and myself, I think we ought to be able to cover most bases. Representative Merrow and Nelson also have been involved in the discussions. We basically agreed that the commissioners put out an RFP for the demolition of the 2 wings of the annex and other pieces within that RFP. They have recommended an approval of Excel Construction to move ahead with that contract. And the contract includes removing wings A and B, which I believe are the closest wings of, good, you have a copy of that contract. So removing wings A and B of the nursing home. There is apparently asbestos flooring there, and it will be a significant effort. And putting up, closing the wall, putting up a frost wall, finishing the wall where the opening is created by the demolition of the wings. And there are 2 other pieces. One was a repair of the roof. When the delegation had talked to the commissioners about this project, we talked about replacing the roof entirely. But the contractors who came in response to the RFP looked at the roof and do not believe that it needs to be replaced. They believe that that would be spending too much money in a place where it isn't needed to be spent. That 90% of the roof is in good shape, that there are places where expansion and contraction have caused some leaks which can be repaired, and flashings that have been stepped on which can be repaired. So this contract, which the commissioners approved, includes repair but not replacement of the roof. And then the third piece is a renovation to the laundry that exists over there now and that is operational for taking care of residents' personal laundry. So that all is in front of us. The subcommittee had extensive conversations and agreed that we should move ahead with the demolition of wings A and B, that we should move ahead with the renovation to the laundry, but that we should not move ahead with the roof repair. The gentleman from Excel, who is not here, but Bob, the maintenance director, is here and can clarify, indicated that the roof, we'll get by with the roof as it is. And we don't have, the delegation expects at some point, unless we change our minds, that the core of the annex will be demolished as well. But now that we've got the veterans homeless project still awaiting some determination, we've given them until April to come up with a viable plan. It seems that we are not going to move ahead with the demolition of the core.
The 5,000 feet.
The 5,000 feet, right. And that the commissioners are still exploring the possibility of bringing co-op extension here and may at some point in the future present a plan to us about that. So it doesn't make sense if we may demolish the part of the core that we fix the roof and spend that money and then demolish it. So we don't recommend that we do any roof work except repair as it relates to the renovation of the laundry, which was discussed. So that's all a part of that. The commissioners are discussing bringing in probation, which apparently will pay for itself or eventually return some rental money to us. And maintenance needs to have storage and workspace for the nursing home in that space. You have a proposed floor plan in front of you, which includes maintenance storage in the kitchen area, which impacts the proposal made by Ms. Brokar. And I think those are all the pieces that are outstanding.
Madam Chairman?
Just a moment, please. I'll be right with you. Okay. This is just a thought process. Our current motion that has been approved by the delegation did not approve anything else but the extension. So if we are thinking about, we did suggest in a later motion that the commissioners go out and find other people to rent the space, but it's my understanding that it was without cost to the county. And so if in fact the subcommittee wants to move ahead with bringing probation in, then we need to have the cost analysis that shows that how long the rent is going to take to amortize the cost that we put into it.
Agreed. Representative McConkey may be able to.
Yeah, and that's obviously, if we think about the kitchen idea, the same sort of thing would need to occur, or anyone else. And oh, by the way, I'm not opposed to moving probation here by any means. I'm just suggesting that the county should not be putting up money for a state requirement. Unless there's going to be significant cost savings to the county, which I don't think there will be. But Commissioner Babson was first.
Thank you. Excuse me. Thank you, Madam Chairman. You all received a copy of this letter that I dropped off on your desk. It's from Michael Todd, the gentleman whose corporation won the bid to remove the walls. There's been a monkey wrench thrown into the process since the subcommittee has decided not to do anything with the roof. And his bid was based a lot on the cost of that roof, and I would recommend that you all read it and see what the end results of not fixing the roof is when it comes to his bid. Appears to me that we will have to go out for bid again, because we've changed the requirements for anybody else that would want to bid on it. So take a look at it, take whatever the chairman gives you to read it, and you can argue about it.
Well, I think that that this is something that your subcommittee is meeting again shortly, and that this needs to be reviewed by the subcommittee and brought back to us at our next meeting. So, I mean, I don't wanna push this off, but we're not, I have not finished reading the letter, but the point is that he's the one that said we didn't need to redo the roof.
Maybe Representative McConkey has a different.
Yes, Representative McConkey.
Thank you, Madam Chairman, and thank you, Representative Butler, for a tremendous synopsis of the long meeting that we had. The only comment I'd like to venture is that the commissioners when they went out in their list of what they would like to use the building for, the part of the building that we have all agreed that would remain, which is the newest part, the back part of the building. And Representative Butler talked about it at some point in time, we would receive payment back on our monies expended and that there'd be revenue. The commissioners, as of our last subcommittee meeting, do not know what the rent would be, nor what the expense would be. So we're a little premature to come out and say that it will pay for itself, at least in the foreseeable future. And I would agree with Madam Chairman that our intent was that we were going to create an envelope, but no more than that when we came up with that. So I think that piece is still in waiting for more information from the commissioners so that the commissioners could come forward with that. And I believe a majority of the subcommittee was somewhat set back in that when we met after our meeting last week, that the proposal was already out to do this work. And when we brought up the question of that it might be against what the delegation had brought forward, and it would appear that it does stymie their bid and that they're looking for more input or discussion, I would suggest that we were a little premature. The commissioners may have been a little premature in granting that. The only other thing that there was great discussion on is the opinion now that the roof is in 90% good shape. And the delegation had inferred, if not put directly in our comments with our motion by spelling out items A, B, C, and D would be completed, is that we're looking for a new roofing system to assure the taxpayers that if we go forward with repairs and rebuilding, reconstruction of this space, that we would have a roof that we would have reasonable expectation to be the life of our bond. The commissioners have come forward with their investigation that the roofing system is perfectly fine. I'm still not comfortable with that. So if a delay is caused by our motion as a subcommittee, then I think the delegation needs to wrestle with whether a patch is as good as new. And that's what I have to say.
So, your meeting when?
Madam Chair?
I think we only have one Monday left, don't we?
I'm wondering if the subcommittee, if it's possible on the 25th for the delegation to meet at 10 and for the subcommittee to meet maybe at 8:30 so that we can have something for the delegation on the 25th. It wasn't intended that the subcommittee was going to meet before the beginning of September.
I'm agreeable, because we're running out of Mondays to meet before
Yeah.
the 25th.
I know. We don't have to always meet on Monday.
On Monday, we like Monday.
You like Monday?
Yeah.
Okay. Representative Sorensen.
Madam
I'm
Chairman.
sorry, Commissioner Sorensen.
We've been working on this now for quite a while. We now have a bid. We had 2 bids that came in. Both bids said the roof doesn't need to be replaced, it just needs to be fixed. You wanted the 2, or the delegation wanted the 2 wings taken down before the end of the year. We keep putting this off. The bid specified that he would start on the 1st of August and it'd be done by the 1st of November. Now, if you're going to keep putting it off, then it's going to be delayed even further. I would strongly urge you that you approve taking down the 2 wings and boarding up that area that is caused by the 2 wings being taken down, and fix the laundry.
I don't think.
That's our recommendation.
Go ahead.
However, this
this
August 7th letter
monkey wrench in there.
adds at least $37,800 to the cost of that demolition. And depending on how the discussion goes, it could add another $80,000 to the cost. And it seems to me that we need to at least discuss that and agree. I hear what you're saying, and I know that you have been pressed to get this done.
Do we have a problem with him starting on the laundry?
No. Except that, Mr. Murray, in terms of all of this that we're dealing with, how does this impact the renovation of the laundry and the roof?
If you choose to hold off the demolition of the wings, we can still proceed with the renovations of the laundry. But you've only had a few minutes to read this. And Section A, the $37,800 to which you're referring to, is just something that none of us put together when we had our subcommittee meeting last week. A, B, and C of the contract, the original contract from Excel, were broken out for your convenience, not as different financial sections of the contract. However, when you voted to approve certain portions of the contract, the wings and the repair, the money, and I'm not saying to repair the roof where they take down the wings, I'm saying that's part of the actual reconstruction of the end wall. When you remove that wing, it's going to do some damage and it's going to leave some shortness to that roof that needs to be rebuilt. This has nothing to do with the repair of the core of the roof. So you have essentially stripped a certain amount of money from his wing demolition contract in order for him to properly do it. That's all. He's not asking for any money. B and C, he's giving you the option to go ahead further, but for Section A, you've actually stripped that section away from him. My recommendation would be to, of course, to vote favorably for this, portion A, $37,800, and let him continue with the work that has been approved. Did I make that clear?
Yes, I understand.
So if I could, Bob.
Yes.
So if he was to demolish a wing, then part of his cost that he already has built in is blocking or making solid the wall, and he has to do some footing work.
Mm-hmm.
And if I remember right in our conversation, that we could be spending $40,000 that if the front of the building eventually gets torn down, that might be a waste of funds, but we have to do it to make the building solid at this point.
Well, he went into pretty good detail about the core of the section, but I'm not talking about the core.
No, but what I'm saying is that we have a number out there by the delaying of taking the wings off to the left and removing the core, removing the front of the building, that there's an extra expense with tying that together.
Correct.
And he said to tie that together and to keep it whole and to keep it weather tight, I think it was at least $30,000 to do that portion.
Yes,
So we know, so we know we have that expense.
That's what
Now,
this 37
That's
is.
what A is.
That is what A is?
On that letter, that's correct.
Okay, and any roofing then to make that whole on top of
To
that
make that
section?
whole, exactly.
Okay.
That's what that covers.
Okay,
That
sounds
does
good.
not include any of the other roof repairs. That's
No,
just
that's just that number that he's been able to determine what extra it's gonna cost to do.
where the wings are severed.
Okay, I understand. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Representative McConkey or commissioners, do you think that it would be wise for us to move ahead with approval of the additional 37.8 in order to move ahead with the demolition of wings A and B at this point so that work can begin?
Saunders.
I know.
council didn't answer the question.
I'm more concerned that we should have to go out for quote again if we change it.
Why don't we take,
Okay.
why don't we take 5 minutes and let the three of you come to grips with that?
Well, we just mentioned about going out for a rebid.
Because you've changed
You
the
changed it.
requirements for the bid for, it isn't fair to issue it to one and then find out that you're gonna change the requirements that the others might have been able to.
I don't know the answer to that, but I do want to make comment on one thing that
I
was said.
disagree with that because you haven't changed the scope of the work. Because we've always said you had to put that in. What we've done is changed the condition of the work. I guess, from whatever they said at the beginning, whatever was in the
You're under the
RFP.
impression that they could move forward if they decided they wanted to spend that money.
I mean, that's my,
Okay. Well, when we finish with this discussion, I want to come back to a roof conversation that was
okay.
made, so we'll
Well,
come back to
I
that.
guess that my concern is that we don't need the entire delegation to come to grips with this right now. Okay, what he's saying is, I think that the subcommittee is recommending we go ahead with the laundry project. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Let us all vote that on going forward with the repair of the laundry. All right, can I have a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Okay, second by Representative Merrow. Okay. Bob has said there's no problem with moving forward with the laundry. Okay, it has nothing to do with anything else. And that will at least show good faith to the contractor, I think, that we really want to get this done. So,
If I could just say one more thing, there was roof repair to be done
right,
there, and the contractor in this agreement is still agreeing to make those repairs where the vents are coming through the roof?
Well,
Are we certain of that? Because at one point
Well,
you
yeah,
said
he-
$5,000.
he did agree to it, but I think that, you know, I certainly don't want to speak for him, but I would think that if you're not going to fund the demolition of the wings right now, he takes any opportunity that he has of saving money and moving it over there. To do it, no cost to the county is being taken away. I'm not going to say whether he can or he can't, but
Well, my point is, we were of the understanding when we left the room that if he gets the laundry bid, because we're creating 2 holes through the roof, when we asked him how much that was gonna cost to repair, he said $5,000. A subsequent conversation was that if you give me the laundry, I'll make repair within my bid. So I don't wanna move forward,
When he left-
move forward on the laundry if we're gonna incur another cost. So
When-
my point is,
stop,
if we're
excuse me.
there-
stop,
when we all...
Stop.
May I?
no, no. We may not. It is unfortunate, we're not here to solve this problem at the delegation level. The commissioners should have come forward with a recommendation to the subcommittee. I realize you received this letter on August 7th, which was probably Thursday, okay? We get it this morning. It was not sent to the subcommittee, so they can't make a recommendation. So it's unfortunate. And I'm not going to sit here for the next half hour trying to figure this out. Because we don't know what's going on. The subcommittee doesn't know what's going on. I'm not sure Bob knows what's going on.
I know more than you what's going on,
He's probably the only one that knows what's going
and I'm
on.
here to help you explain that,
But,
move this along.
yeah, but the point is that this needs to go to the subcommittee. Okay? And you need to assure this guy that we are not going to go back out for bid. All right? To some other company. if we were not sufficient in our RFP when we went out for it, it is not his fault. If we didn't include this in the RFP, that's not his fault. That's our fault for not discussing with whomever it needed to be discussed with. So, as I look back at what BP recommended, BP, whatever, Bonnet, Page and Stone recommended, they had a recommended cost for each of these line items. And, you know, fixing the roof was part of it. So, I can't sit here in all good conscience and allow this discussion to go on until we get a recommendation from the subcommittee. And I understand you're meeting when?
On August 25th at 8:30 in the morning.
So, I would like to say, if we could, to move forward with the laundry. All right? We can have 1,000 excuses as to why we don't want to do that. But I think that by the on the 25th, see, he's not going to get up on the roof tomorrow. Right? I assume he's going to. I mean, okay, anyhow, I would at least like to move forward with the laundry.
So moved.
I'm just frustrated to no end, as I'm sure the subcommittee.
I'm gonna second his motion. I'd also like to call a question if I can do it. You know, I've been sitting here for 10 years discussing this.
I know.
I'm not running again, and I'm hoping before I pass on.
And I've been here for 8, and Mark's been here for 10. Okay.
But I think the $5,000 cost is relevant now.
If I could.
It may or may not be relevant, because if we go ahead with the rest of it, he basically said he could absorb it. If he doesn't, he'll charge us.
Representative Merrill called the question.
I know, but he doesn't count. That doesn't, we don't call.
Guess I gotta vote no.
Yeah.
He's a lame duck.
No. Go ahead.
I think that it would be good for us to support moving ahead with the renovation to the laundry, knowing that, as Representative McConkey points out, that there is an issue relative to cost on the roof that may amount to $5,000, but that by August 25th, we are likely to move ahead with other pieces of the project, and that this will at least give some sense that we are intending to move forward.
Not to mention, the bid came in under what we had projected. So it's not like it isn't, if the bid had come in at 9999999, then maybe we would be sweating it a little bit more. But I certainly don't think that we need to.
If we, Madam Chairman, if we move forward, which there seems to be some energy to do, that we tie that to the number of the bid that was provided to us.
Which I believe was in the motion from the subcommittee, which is 69,310.
Not to exceed.
Not to exceed 69,310. I would amend the motion.
Okay.
You okay with that, Representative Merrill?
Okay. That's fine. As long as we do something.
Yes, okay. So the motion is to move forward with the laundry and the repair, or the whatever you want to call it.
Renovation.
Renovation is not to exceed
$69,310.
$69,310. Okay? Is there any other questions, comments? Yes.
May I point out that the longer you put this off, you're going to be getting into the heating season, which is going to cause more additional costs for the contractor. Making decisions sooner than later may avoid some of these costs.
So you are supporting going ahead with the laundry?
I support a lot more than that, but yes.
Okay. So, can I see all those in favor of moving ahead with the laundry portion? Raise your hand. Opposed? One. Let's see, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
10 total.
10 in favor, 1 opposed. And at our 25th meeting, we will have a recommendation on demolition. That's correct? And we will have a recommendation on the kitchen for 2 months.
Yes, by the commissioners.
All right.
Could we also ask that the commissioners go forward with Excel and have any documentation brought to the subcommittee ahead of, by several days, the 25th, so that when we sit down, we know what we're looking at?
Documentation on what? Tearing down the wing and boarding it up?
If they have more information for us, or if any information's changed, that they'll provide that information to us ahead of the meeting. So we can sit down and know what we're doing.
And if I could have the spelling of the name.
Oh, yes.
Sandra
Sandra,
and Rick.
will you please provide the spelling for your name?
I will. Brocaar.
It's not the way I spelled it.
Rick?
I'm Rick DeMark. It's last name is D-E, capital M-A-R-K.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Could I have a motion to go into, by the way, did we approve the minutes?
No, we haven't.
Okay.
July 7th.
Could I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
July 7th, Representative Crawford, seconded by Representative Butler. Any corrections, additions, changes? All right, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Okay, which,
I abstained.
okay, 1 abstention, 10 in favor.
2, actually.
2 abstentions?
Yeah, I wasn't here, so.
Oh, okay, that's fine. So that motion passes. Could I have a motion to go into convention, please?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. All right. Could I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
Okay, Representative Butler, Representative Crawford. All those in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Don't abstain in here. You've already.
What is this? Minutes. Is it the same thing we just did?
Yeah, but that's, we went into convention to ratify what we did.
So,
Yeah, so you can vote for this.
thank you.
Okay? So it's not, it's.
It's confusing as well.
We're ratifying the action.
That's
I
correct.
see.
We're ratifying the action. Okay. We have three other motions, right?
We
We have
have those 2
4.
and then the others.
Okay. The next one is to approve the Mountain View Union contract.
So moved.
Second. Okay, Representative McConkey and Merrill. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's unanimous. Okay, the next one is recommend to the commissioners that A, contracts should be multi-year. 2, no raises should be approved prior to the execution date of the contract.
And 3?
And 3. Yeah, and 3 was the negotiation should include increased contributions by new employees for healthcare insurance beyond single coverage. Okay, all those in favor, please raise your hand. 1, 2, 7. Opposed? 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, thank you, motion passes. Okay.
I don't know if there were other motions, there were
Yeah, there were. We moved to move forward with the laundry area within the old nursing home, not to exceed 69,310. All those in favor, raise your hands. Opposed? It's 10-1. Melissa, do we have any other motions out there?
Just skim the minutes, I don't see anything else.
Okay. Does anybody have any motions that they think we voted on?
Madam Chairman, I move we come out of convention.
Second.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Do I have a motion for adjournment?
I'll make that motion.
Oh, public comments. Sorry. Yes, Mr. Brown.
Does the renovation for the laundry, does that include hooking the laundry up to the pellet boilers?
No, it does not.
It does not.
Regarding that question, we put out a bid to see what it would cost to do that.
Okay. Any other public comment? Okay, seeing none, we will adjourn until August 25th at 10 a.m. At 10 a.m. with the subcommittee meeting at 8:30, which means I have,
Sharon just emailed that those copies are ready in the office.
okay, and the copies of the
Performance audit?
performance audit are available downstairs. Representative McConkey will email you a copy if that's what you prefer. I don't prefer that, so, but,
She made 20, so there's.
okay. So there's,
For the delegation, that's your copy.
Huh?
Said 20 copies, we should make delegation should have the opportunity to get their copies
Yes.
before.
and, yeah.
Yes.